Hi, this is Ryan, and the box on the table next to me cost $1,500. 1.5 for a robot vacuum that's already kind of technically obsolete, and not because of anything you'd ever see in a review. I almost bought this for my mom last week. Almost. The reviews are great. The specs are absurd. 25,000 pascals of suction, retractable LiDAR, a dock that washes its own mop with 167 degrees water. Every YouTube channel running a Best Smart Home of 2026 list right now has this exact category somewhere in their top 3. And then I noticed something on the back of the box that nobody, and I mean nobody in those videos is talking about. Not the reviewers, not the manufacturers, definitely not the people writing those breathless 10 gadgets that will define 2026 listicles. Here's what scares me. Almost everything being marketed as a defining 2026 smart home gadget right now is going to be a paperweight by 2029. And I can prove it. I've got 10 of them sitting in this room. So before you spend another dollar, hit subscribe, give me 10 minutes, and once you see the pattern, you genuinely can't unsee it. What is the pattern? So here's what's on my desk right now. A Roborock Saros 10R still in the box, an Echo Hub I haven't been able to bring myself to mount because the wall I want to put it on is generously 90 years old, and a Kara U200 lock that I've uninstalled and reinstalled 3 times this month, a robot lawnmower sitting in the garage because I keep telling myself I'll do it on a weekend with good weather, 2 video doorbells, one of which is from a brand whose customer service line when I tested it went to a chatbot that didn't understand the word refund, 3 different leak sensors, a span panel quote stuck to my fridge that I haven't accepted yet, and a smart bulb from IKEA that I genuinely cannot believe costs $9. This is supposed to be the future. Now, if you've watched any 10 smart home gadgets that will define 2026 video in the last 3 months, and statistically you have, they all followed the same template. Matter is here, Thread is here, Alexa Plus and Gemini for Home are here. AI, AI, AI. Wall mount this, voice control that. Look at the PA rating on this vacuum. Subscribe. That's not a video. That's a press release with a face on it. Okay, let me back up for a second because something did genuinely change in smart home this year, and I want to give credit where it's due. Matter 1.4 rolled out at the end of 2025, and for the first time, cameras and video doorbells are part of the standard. That's the actual headline. The reason it matters, and I had to read the spec twice to believe it, is that you can now buy a video doorbell, set it up in Apple Home, never create a vendor account, and just use it. Some of these new cameras run person, vehicle, and package detection on a chip that costs the manufacturer less than $3. Cloud subscription, for the first time in the history of this category, is technically optional. That should be the story of 2026. Instead, what every channel is doing is reading spec sheets out loud. And the reason that bothers me specifically is I think the spec sheet, for the first time ever in this category, is actively misleading you about which gadgets are going to still work in 3 years. Take Matter, the logo on the box. Every device claims it. Cute little orange and white triangle thing. What I assumed, and what I think you probably assume, is that Matter certified means the device will work with any platform, with any feature, forever. That is not what it means. It means the device passes a thin commissioning protocol. Basically, it knows how to introduce itself to the network. Once it's in, the manufacturer decides which features ride over the Matter bus and which stay locked inside their own app. I tested this with a Matter certified robot vacuum last week. In the Apple Home app, I can press start, I can press stop, I can send it to the dock. That's it. No-go zones, room mapping, suction profiles, mop pad lift, all locked inside the manufacturer's app, which, by the way, requires me to create an account, accept their terms, and let them send me marketing emails about a vacuum I already own. So when somebody tells you a gadget is Matter compatible, and this is the part I needed to say to camera because I think it's the single most important sentence in this video, what they actually mean is the cheapest possible version of this product's features will technically appear inside another app. Everything that makes the device worth buying is still owned by the company that made it. And if that company disappears or gets acquired or paywalls their app or pushes a firmware update that breaks something, and I'm going to show you that all 4 of those things happened to major smart home brands in the last 12 months, then you don't actually own a smart device. You own a future paperweight. Which brings me to what I'd argue is the single most overlooked story in smart home this year. iRobot, the company that invented the modern robot vacuum, the brand your mom would name if you asked her to name a robot vacuum, the company that as of 3 years ago was synonymous with the entire category, is functionally on life support. The Paysaya takeover happened. The brand, in any buy-it-for-life sense, is gone. Meanwhile, the 4 vacuums currently being recommended in every 2026 list are all Chinese domiciled with US customer support that is charitably an email address you write to and pray. And not one of those 10 best videos is telling you that the question to ask about your $1,500 robot vacuum isn't how many pascals does it suck, it's is the company that made this going to exist in 2028? That's the story nobody's running with, and it's about to get a lot weirder. Okay, let me show you the thing that, when I noticed it, genuinely made me close my laptop and walk outside for a minute. I bought a Ring video doorbell back in 2022. The deal at the time was pay for the hardware, get free motion alerts forever, pay extra only if you want recorded video. Reasonable. I bought in. In 2024, Ring changed the deal. If you want to actually see the clip that the doorbell just recorded, the clip that I'm paying my electric bill in cell modem fees to upload to the cloud, you now need Ring Protect, $3.99 a month minimum. The hardware on my porch did not change. The features the hardware was sold with retroactively did. Arlo did the exact same thing. Their full features tier went from $9.99 a month when I tested their cameras in 2023 to $19.99 a month as of late 2025. Same cameras, same footage, double the price. Wyze did a softer version. They kept the free tier but degraded it so quietly that nobody noticed their free motion detection started skipping events. This is not a bug, it's a pattern. I keep saying subscription paywall, but what I actually mean is, and this is the uncomfortable part, the device you bought is no longer the device you bought. The manufacturer reached through the firmware update channel and changed the contract, quietly, while you slept. Now, layer on top of that what's been happening with the safety side of this category. In February of this year, 6 weeks before I started recording, the CPSC recalled the Babysense MaxView baby monitor, model VBM55. The recall isn't for the camera that watches your kid, it's for the parent display unit, the one that sits next to your bed. The lithium battery in it overheats, fire hazard. I had to check the model number twice because I was pretty sure I'd recommended that monitor to a friend last year. I had not, I had recommended a different one, but the fact that I had to check tells you something about how indistinguishable these devices have become from each other. And it's not isolated. In April, CPSC re-announced a Casely power bank recall after a fatality was reported following the original 2025 action. The CPSC's 2026 operating plan specifically names lithium-ion battery standards as a priority enforcement area. Translation, the agency is bracing for more. And here's where the math gets ugly. Take a normal, I'm building a 2026 smart home budget. You add up the hardware, vacuum, doorbell, lock, thermostat, hub, 2 cameras, a leak sensor, smart bulbs, and a smart panel monitor, premium tier, you land somewhere around $2,800, give or take. That's the number every YouTube guide quotes. That's the number I quoted 2 years ago. It's wrong. The real number, when you actually run the math over 3 years, and I did this on a spreadsheet last night because I needed to see it for myself, is closer to $5,000 to $9,000. I'm not exaggerating to make a point. That's the hardware plus subscriptions plus consumables plus the statistically average device failure rate plus the energy these things draw idle plus the hours you spend repairing things after every router reboot. The hardware is the down payment. Everything else is the lease. And nobody running these best of 2026 lists is putting that number on screen, because the moment you do, half the products on those lists stop making sense. And before you tell me, okay, but at least Google or Apple wouldn't pull that move on their own customers, let me show you what's currently happening with Nest. Google rolled Gemini into the Nest ecosystem starting late 2025. The promise was smarter routines, conditional logic, AI that understands your household. What's actually happening, and you can go read the Nest subreddit right now, this is not me being dramatic, is that routines people set up 4, 5, 6 years ago are silently breaking. Schedules misfire, voice commands return, I didn't get that. Thermostats stop following their set schedule because the new conditional AI keeps optimizing them away from what the user actually told it to do. People are reverting to manual programming on a Nest in 2026. That is not the smart home those owners signed up for. That is the smart home a press release sold them, and the software team in Mountain View decided to ship instead. And the worst part is, once I noticed this pattern in subscriptions, in safety, and firmware, I couldn't unnotice it. It's everywhere, even on the brands I trust. So the obvious question is, what do you actually buy? Okay, verdict time. I sat on this for 2 weeks before recording because I wanted to make sure I wasn't just being a grumpy reviewer about a category that has, in fairness, made my life materially better in a lot of ways. So here's the honest answer. The single most important rule when you're buying anything for your home in 2026 is this. Buy for the failure mode, not the feature list. Stop looking at what the product does. Start looking at what it does after the company that made it stops caring. That's the only filter that matters. If it were my $3,000, here's what I would actually buy. A Lutron Caseta starter kit. Not the sexy answer, doesn't speak matter, uses a proprietary 434 megahertz radio that an engineer designed over a decade ago and has not had to redesign since, because it just works. I've talked to people who installed Caseta dimmers 8 years ago and have not once had to repair a switch, repair the hub, or even reopen the app. In a category where the average device fails or gets broken by a firmware push within 3 years, that's not a feature, that's the whole game. Next, an ecobee Smart Thermostat Premium, not a Nest. ecobee has not, as of recording, broken its customer base by force-feeding them an AI rewrite. The remote sensors actually catch the rooms your central thermostat misses, and the energy reporting is detailed enough that I caught my furnace short-cycling last February and got a $400 repair done before it became a $1,000 one. That paid for the thermostat twice. For cameras, and this is where I'm going to lose half of you, I would skip every brand whose name you recognize from a Super Bowl ad. I'd buy a Reolink with a microSD card or a PoE camera plugged into an NVR. No subscription, no cloud account, footage stays in a box on my shelf. If Reolink goes out of business tomorrow, my cameras still record tomorrow night. That is the whole spec sheet in one sentence. For the hub, an Aqara M3, not an Echo Hub, not a Nest. Aqara because it does Thread, Zigbee, and Matter, and because it talks to Home Assistant if you ever decide to leave the cloud entirely. That is the most important escape hatch you can build into your smart home. If you take one thing from this video, please take that one. For a robot vacuum, I would actually buy refurbished, specifically a Roborock factory refurb, which Amazon sells for about 30% off with a real warranty. The premium robot vacuum category is the one place in smart home where the last year's flagship is functionally identical to this year's flagship, and the depreciation is brutal. Use it against them. And the one I'd add that nobody is putting on these lists, a moan, flow, or any whole home leak shutoff valve. A leak sensor that just yells at you while your basement floods is not a smart device. A valve that physically closes the water main is. Some insurers will give you a 5 to 10% premium discount for installing one. That part is not marketing. Call your agent, ask, read the fine print, get it in writing. What I would specifically not buy this year under any circumstance, even at a deep discount, is anything that requires a cloud login to perform its primary function. Anything from a company you cannot find a real US phone number for. Any device released within the last 90 days because, actually, wait, let me be fair to the engineers here. There's nothing wrong with adopting new Matter devices 6 months in. The first 90 days is when the firmware bugs surface. That's the window I'd avoid, not the device itself. I should also tell you, because the honesty about my own limits rule of this channel demands it, I haven't lived with all 10 of these gadgets long enough to make a 5-year claim with a straight face. I've had some for 3 years, some for 6 months. So when I say buy for the failure mode, I'm partly telling you what I've personally watched fail, and partly telling you what the engineering pattern across this category strongly predicts. That gap matters. Don't let me or any reviewer pretend it doesn't. So here is where I'd leave it. The 2026 smart home is not defined by what's smart. It's defined by what still works in 2029. Buy the boring stuff, skip the subscription drops, and don't let a YouTube list, including this one, talk you into a $1,500 gadget from a company you couldn't pick out of a lineup. If this video saved you from one bad purchase, that's the point. Hit subscribe because the next one is the renter's version of this. Actually good moves for people who can't put holes in their walls, and nobody is covering it properly. I'll see you in that one.